I really enjoyed going to the synagogue. I think that the most interesting experience for me there was when they picked a family out of the congregation to go up to the Ark, which the Ark is the it's the housing for the Torah, which is their holy script, and it's not just a book, it's scripts. And so they pick a family to go open the Ark and get the Torah out, and then the father of the family carries the Torah around the synagogue area, like inside the sanctuary. If you're a Christian, it's that kind of thing. He walks around, and everybody, the females, they touch their prayer book to it and then kiss the binding. And the males, they have these drapes around their body, and they take a tassel off the drape, touch it, and then kiss it. And I thought that was really interesting. And then I also thought it was interesting how when they're reading the Torah, they have people from the congregation come up and read. So it's not just there was a female leader, and then there was a male rabbi. I'm not sure what the female's title was, but they were the main readers of the Torah. But then they got this kid that looked like he was 15 or 16 to come up and read it. They got several men to come up and read the Torah out loud in front of everybody. And I think that's a cool tradition, how they try to involve everybody into leading their worship service.
It was really great to just see how welcoming their community was to visitors like us, even though we weren't of their faith. They still welcomed us to partake in their events throughout their service, which it was just really interesting to see. I'd have to say the most engaging thing I noticed during the service was the Torah. The amount of respect they had for these scrolls was very interesting. How they preserved the scrolls and how they read from the scrolls themselves. It was really interesting just to see how much precaution they took into every part of it. Another thing I found interesting was their chants. I was really curious to why they were done the way they were. So I asked the rabbi afterwards why they would constantly chant in the Hebrew language. That's when he told me that it was actually a way for them to read. That through chanting they were able to memorize things better and easier for themselves. It wasn't a matter of it being a chant, it was a matter of it them just memorize. So I thought that was really neat. So
okay, y'all, this is my Jewish friend Paul Glaze, and I will be interviewing him about the Jewish life. So, Paul, I went to a synagogue the other weekend with my friends, my classmates, in my world religions class, and I noticed that the women also wore yarmulkes. Can you tell me why they were wearing yarmulkes too?
Okay, well, the synagogue you went to is a Reform synagogue, which is, in Christian terms, is like a different denomination. And the Reform community, which is what I belong to, is very, very feminist, essentially. And so while they believe in tradition and covering your head during prayer while you're at the synagogue and all that, they don't see a reason to make it only guys do it.
Yeah.
So if women want to, that's meaningful to them, then that's not frowned upon.
Okay. All right, and I also noticed within at the synagogue, they would give out cards, I guess, to assign duties to people to do, I guess, during the sermon or whatever. What was the purpose of that?
Well, a temple service, which what day of the week did you go on?
It was a Saturday.
Okay, so a Shabbat service is it's very heavy on reading. The services of the Jewish year are divided up much like in the Catholic Church, where you read a section and then you read the next section of Scripture.
Mm-hmm.
So in a temple, every week at the Sabbath, at Shabbat, they read the next section of Torah, so that by the end of the year they've read everything, and it's every week to keep people involved, to kind of give out duties, and it's an honor to be asked to read the Torah. And then, so prior to every week, there are a couple people that have been asked to do this, and they've given their section so they can kind of practice it and make sure they're good on their Hebrew. But also, there's usually what's called an aliyah, which is when someone is invited to speak and they didn't know it. It's an honor that's oftentimes reserved for distinguished guests or just newcomers in general if it's a smaller temple. And that's why the cards are kind of cheat sheets. Because there's a lot of prayers that are said every single week.
Okay, my next question. We also noticed that when they were walking around with the Torah, everyone was touching it and then kissing their fingertips. What does that mean?
Okay, well, just like in the Episcopalian and Catholic churches, when the gospel is brought by, I don't know how many of you all are Episcopalian or Catholic, but when they do the gospel reading, they carry the Bible by and everyone kind of bows to it. It's the same concept. The Torah scroll is the only thing in the entirety of the synagogue that's actually considered sacred. Or the ark as well, when it's placed in. And so when they bring it by, the Jewish way of kissing something like that is to touch it with your fingers and then kiss your fingers, so that you don't, kiss your fingers and put it on there and everyone spread germs and make it unclean. I use unclean like dirty, not like spiritually unclean. But it's mostly just a sign of respect. That's something else though, I forgot it. I'm sorry.